Screen. Well, I pushed the wrong button. So
It's all good, Ted.
all right. Okay, so let me do this. Let me share the screen with the agenda. So now I lost it. All right. We okay to start then? Let's start. Okay.
Yep, all set.
Good evening, everyone. This is the March meeting of the Village Environmental Policy Board. The agenda for Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 is shared screen with this broadcast. Welcome you all to be here. If there's any questions at all, even during the meeting or for the Environmental Policy Board in general, that email address there highlighted at the top is how to get a hold of any of us and all of us. environment@villageofnewpaltz.org. I'll go ahead and call the order or the meeting to order. We have quorum. Jonathan, Lexi, and myself represent 3 out of the 5 board members of the Environmental Policy Board. Quick introductions. My name is Ted Nitza. I'm the chair of the Environmental Policy Board. I'm a resident of the town of New Paltz and a civil environmental engineer. Lexi, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lexi. I'm also on the board and I go to high school in New Paltz.
And Jonathan?
I'm Jonathan. I'm also a member of the Village of New Paltz Environmental Policy Board, and I'm currently an environmental policy and science master's student.
Great. And then helping us out this evening, as always, Ariana. Ariana, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ariana Basco, the assistant to the mayor and the village board, as well as the secretary to the Environmental Policy Board.
So we received news that next month we'll be returning to in-person meetings. So this next item, having a public or an opportunity for the public to comment. The public always has an opportunity to comment through written or on the Zoom. But next month we'll be returning to having meetings in the public too. So we'll have those. I don't see any members of the public wishing to make comments, but if they do, please let us know. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. Administrative items is the next thing, and the approval of the agenda. It's been posted, a couple of things added, and I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the agenda as posted this evening.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We'll go ahead and vote to approve the agenda for this evening then. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Or hand motion is fine too. Okay, motion passes. The minutes, our last meeting, we don't have the minutes prepared for that yet. So we're going to have to go ahead and skip over that item. Hopefully, we would hope to have the minutes available for next time for the February meeting. There's no payment of claims. Any announcements? Any announcements from any members of the board? Jonathan, Lexi, or Ariana?
None from me.
Okay. All right. Next item is the planning board update. Rachel is our liaison. She's also a member of the planning board. She usually handles that. She is out of the country this evening. Is not able to attend this evening. I'm looking over the items, Chestnut Street, the PIT project, North Manheim senior housing, and I can speak a little bit about the critical environmental areas discussion. Ariana or anyone else, any general news on any of the village planning board items?
I don't have anything right now. I know that there hasn't been a lot of movement on the PIP. There's been no movement on the PIP project, just going through what we have here. Oh, I did add the 85 North Chestnut to this, just because I thought that it would be, it's a fairly large project. It's right across the street from Zero Place. It's another mixed-use commercial residential. So I thought that it would be just something that should be on this group's radar. It is also, we have an easement with them that's already been signed, and the project does not hinge upon it, where the rail trail, there's going to be a connection from, so this is something in terms of like, greening our transportation, basically. The Empire State Trail that will come down Henry W. and go across the Stewart's property will also come across the street and connect to the rail trail itself across of this 85 North Chestnut property. So we have money to, we have a grant that is going to help fund that rail trail connection. It's through the Hudson River Valley Greenway. And they have specific money that is going towards the Empire State Trail. So this is, part of that pool of money that will be doing that connection. Yeah, and the project is, I don't know if they've been in front of the planning board recently, but it's definitely something that is well underway. And, if this group wanted to weigh in on it, the planning board, I know, would welcome that.
Okay. As Ariana was giving us that description, I opened it up. There's a couple of elevations things in there from the file, or they're linked for everyone to see that. I would encourage people to take a look at those things, and maybe next month we can, with Rachel back, we can consider some kind of comments or weighing in on the project on behalf of the Environmental Policy Board. Any questions about that project or HIP project or anything else from those? All right, so I will give a little bit of an update on the critical environmental areas discussion. It was, I think, maybe 2 months now that the town of New Paltz passed the CEA designation for the gunk area along the ridge in the town of New Paltz. It was a long time coming. I'd been worked on for a number of years by the Environmental Conservation Board on the town side, and it was good to have that in place. We're going to see, I think the idea is they're going to watch and see how that goes for maybe another 6 months, 8 months, and maybe then propose additional CEA areas. Last I heard, and we talked about it in this group here, there's no necessary, there's no, we'll say, viable pathway or need for us to do critical environmental areas in the village, just because of the number of parcels is limited that it would actually apply to, and there may be other pathways too. But again, at one point there was a notion to have the village and the town have adjacent critical environmental areas, but when the town started or stopped pursuing areas that were actually contingent to the village, that need fell away. Any questions at all about village planning board items then in general? So the next item is the town's Environmental Conservation Board, an update similar that Rachel is liaison for that. I also serve on the town's board and pass information back and forth. I think the most notable item right now that the Conservation Board is working on actively is a letter of support for the Henry Du Bois trail extension between Putt Road and the Empire State Trail. So the comment period is either still open or maybe just expired, but the Environmental Conservation Board is planning a letter of support for that project, and hopes to turn that in soon. We'll have a copy of it next time, I'm sure, with this meeting. Reports, Bee City and Village Hall Ecoscaping Project. Ariana, do you know anything in regards to how the ecoscaping project is going for the village, or maybe talk about the new food pantry?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know that it's been winter, so we'll see how everything starts to come back. But last year, the plants seem to be doing well, mainly on their own. I'm not sure if there's anyone right now who is managing, which is why we have the designate volunteers to manage the garden piece. But I know that Alex had talked about she's in touch with the folks who are managing the free food fridge, and that they were pretty excited about it. So I haven't heard if there's been movement on it, but I'm hoping that they will take on, since they're there every day, they can certainly, because they're unlocking that pantry every day to give access to the fridge and relocking it every evening. So I think that they could definitely at least keep an eye on things. And there is a spigot there where, like, if watering needed to be done, they could do the watering. So that seems like a really promising path to go down.
Yeah, it does. I wasn't aware that they were opening and closing that on a daily basis. That would give a good opportunity to maintain those plants.
Yeah, totally. If they're already there, it seems like it's pretty easy.
All right. Anything on Bee City? I have not heard anything. And Rachel was following that. Maybe next time Rachel can update us on that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that either. So.
Okay. Okay, composting the village. I think there's two things going on with that. The municipal contract for picking up residential solid waste and recycling comes due in 2023. Hopefully it's a good opportunity for us to maybe rethink or expand on that program or improve it. The other one was, Lexi, I believe you're looking at composting items. Is this, I don't know if it's further on down, but do you want to have any questions or comments about that effort?
Oh, yeah, sorry. My computer was broken until like a week ago, so I haven't really been able to do that much. So I'll work on that over the next month.
Okay, all right. I had forwarded, I think, over the last week or two, and maybe even today, items that I saw that might be applicable or useful in that regard. And I emailed them to the environment number so that we could all see those, but hopefully we've got a chance to see those.
Okay.
The municipal trash planning grant, Ariana, that we talked about last time, Jenna, who's an intern with Walden, she's looking into when that gets renewed. It's been suggested that here in the next month or two, it'll be reopened for 2022, maybe have an opportunity for us to look at how that might help the village and the town plan for the next municipal contract, but we'll keep you updated with that. Jenna's looking at that now. Any questions on composting in the village?
No, that sounds really great. And I'm glad Jenna is on it, and I'm happy to work with her anytime she needs, an inside player.
Yeah. Well, I think it's still a fingers crossed kind of thing. We're not exactly sure if the DEC or any of the other agencies are going to refund it for this year, but if they are, what we understand is it will be soon. So we'll do it. Next item is the source of raw water supply study. That's something that is now, well, I guess we're 2 days away from that, right, Ariana? Today's Tuesday, so Thursday we have our first management committee meeting on that topic, and it's a continuation of the study that took maybe a little over a year to put in place, but it'll be looking at ways to shore up, improve the protection levels and the diversity of the different drinking water sources that we have in this community. Anything I missed on that, Ariana? It's Thursday, right?
Thursday, yeah, you're correct.
Okay, banning regulation of leaf blowers. We understand that's being, we'll say, set aside now for the for a different item under new business, which is an idling law. So I'll go ahead and skip over that. Any other reports, things that we're working on that we need to update the overall group with?
I didn't know if I should move this up into reports, but it's in old business, and it is something, there is new development that maybe Jonathan can speak to a little bit more about the idling laws.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alex and I had a really productive meeting. We kind of just tried to flesh some things out in regards to, what we want to get done. And, the kind of approach we want to take with this. But as it notes there, Alex is a fan of the Westchester law, so we're going to try and mirror it as close to that as possible. And she thought where I could really lend a hand is with the justification section. I spoke to her about a class I took last semester for environmental science, and we read a few studies in Harlem about the bus depots in Harlem and how the particulate matter and other types of air pollution are affecting the local area around the bus depots and stuff like that. So I'm going to take some scientific data and some statements out of there and probably pepper it into the template that Alex has provided for me. But we had a really good meeting and we're going to get some stuff done. Ted, I know you said you had some stuff that had been done on regard to the idling law.
Yeah, last time we talked about me getting that to you. So I will look and find out where that's at. I don't think it was the Westchester law, so it might actually be helpful for slightly different perspectives on it. But I'll track that down and get that to you.
Definitely, yeah. So it was just a really good preliminary meeting. You know, we're kind of just setting our bases and seeing what we're trying to get done with it. But I'm definitely going to be communicating with Alex more about that in the future.
Any questions or anything for Jonathan on the idling laws or the updates to that?
No, this is exciting. Thank you so much for working on it.
All right, the other two items at the top of old business, the capacity study and the study for drinking water, renewable energy sources is almost there, but it's the same place it was last month. So we hope to finish those up soon. Trans Hudson project, I have not heard anything over the past month. I think, as I understand it right now, the town is considering, or Trans Hudson has asked for an extension of the water and sewer district areas to include that project area, and that's under consideration, but I have not heard anything other than that.
Yeah, it's still in play.
Yeah, okay. All right, subject tasks. We haven't spent any money on the budget, and that we do have money set aside for both things to help us, or things that we could buy or purchase for the environmental policy board type things, or contractual services like Ariana helping us out with the minutes and things. Any other budget, website, other types of questions?
I think that you guys should come up with something to spend, some of this money on before June.
It is June when that comes up due. So
June is when it comes up due, and it could do something like it could be a conference if there's something that would like help with the work that you're all doing. I don't know of anything offhand, so I'm speaking off the cuff here. But if there's anything that like you come across that it interests you in this way, I would love to see all of you like use this money. Especially, I feel like Ted, you work in this field, so you're already you have professional development up your sleeve in many ways. But for Jonathan and Lexi, like this is something that could be a great like resume builder, could be something that like gives you new experience, or something that you can expand your repertoire with. So I think like it's definitely something to keep in mind, and the village is happy to spend that money in that way.
Yeah, I also support that. If there's any kind of training or sessions, or I think a couple of years ago we sponsored a movie for the community that was on an environmental topic. So that's also a way that we could.
Yeah, it could be spent on an event of some kind. Absolutely. It's really whatever the group wants to do, as long as you have the votes to spend the money on that thing, you can. So yeah, think about it.
So, our next meeting is April. So April, May, those will be maybe our last opportunities to authorize that kind of spending before June. So
Exactly.
We'll think of some things that would be good expenditures for that. Keep that in mind.
You're reminding me, Ted, that the expiration of remote meetings is happening, and word on the street, we don't really know yet, is that they are not going to extend the ability to meet remotely. So we should anticipate that in April, we will be meeting in person.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Now, in the email, you talked about some accommodations for um, video participation, but then there'd be additional rules and things. Do we have any feedback or guidance on that yet?
I
Or
do. So basically, we were always allowed to remote into meetings as long as the meeting was technically taking place somewhere where the public could attend. So, if somebody needed to Zoom into the meeting, I think what we would do is so what the village board did is we had everything was still on Zoom, basically a hybrid meeting where the village board was in person, but members of the public could Zoom into it, and then village board members were also allowed to Zoom into it. And I don't know if this rule is really more for elected officials, but my understanding is that it's for everyone, is that it basically just needs to be noticed that certain people will be Zooming in from their own location. And the technicality is that if somebody wanted to come to that location, which is like your home, that we would technically be putting that out there that they could. Obviously, nobody would be doing that. They would come to the public location if they're going to come anywhere. But the idea is that technically the location that you are attending the meeting from would have to be made a public location, even if that is your home. So it would be like announcing that you would be at this address for the meeting.
all right, well, that's better news than I thought. So with a little bit of pre-planning, if some of us need to attend remotely, we still can. We'll just have to keep that in mind as we plan for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just would have to notice it. I believe it's a week out, but it's also like this isn't like a contentious board. For like the village board, planning board, zoning board, like things that people are watching more and people are attending more often. Like those are the things that I think are going to be scrutinized more by the public. Nobody's going to really give us a hard time if we keep meeting remotely, or at least if some of our members are meeting remotely. But yeah, that's something for us to just keep in mind.
All right. Any other questions on that topic? That has us in new business. Any other new business for the Environmental Policy Board? Any other items of interest? Any
I guess
events coming up?
before we move on just from the next month's meeting, does that pose a problem for anybody while we're, talking about it?
Well, okay, so the next meeting we've got there is still the March date. What is the April?
Oh yeah, it's Tuesday, April 12th. I did
Oh,
change
okay.
it in the minutes, but I realized I didn't change it here. There we
Okay,
go.
so the 12th, I don't believe presents any problem for me. I mean, if we are attending in person, I'll plan to attend in person, for that. But I am aware, or we'll say sympathetic to others attending by Zoom or remote if they need to. I think we struggle sometimes for a quorum and the ability to conduct business. So I'm looking forward to making that easy for folks. All right. Any other items of interest for Environmental Policy Board? Any events coming up, things coming up, announcements?
I don't have anything, but I'm just gonna say I'm gonna start thinking about how to spend that money. It's definitely something to think about, and it would just be a disservice if it was just left there. So I'm definitely gonna start brainstorming stuff to do.
Yeah. The village board of trustees, represents the people of New Paltz. They've identified that this is a important topic worth investing in, $1,000 for our annual budget. So, it is up to us to think of some appropriate, worthwhile ways to spend that, either training ourselves or things that can help the community. We've done, I think, tote bags in the past. It could be the Tiffins now. the venue or space at some of the environmental events. Earth Day is coming up, things like that. So yeah, please think of those things. Start an email thread with us if you'd like to find worthy ways of spending that money.
I love your Earth Day idea, Ted. Whether or not we use money for it, I think like it would be great to have a table, maybe recruit some new researchers, get people aware, more aware of what this group is doing. That could be a cool thing to do if people were willing to sit at a table for, 5 to 7 hours or something and engage the public.
Yeah. Do we?
It's a fun event,
Is that underway? Is that under a new, or I mean, back to, we'll say, normal this year? Or what
I
is it?
don't really know. I have to be honest. I haven't heard anything yet, and that kind of surprises me since it's upon us that they would be organizing it,
Right, right. And then to me, what also goes hand in hand with that I'm somewhat interested this year is the I call it the raft race, right? The
The regatta.
regatta, yeah, the regatta. Have you heard anything in regards to that?
I have not heard anything in regards to that, but that would probably be. I think they had moved it from May to June, and they might keep it in June. Although I know it was originally a SUNY, like it was pretty involved. SUNY was pretty involved, and so I think last year they moved it to. Wait, did they even do it last year?
They did
They
not
did.
do it last year. I
Did it?
had
It
no
was
place to go
canceled in the
with
end.
my
Okay.
grant.
I see on Facebook here they have it planned for June 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, KT's got it up on Facebook for June 12th.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad, Jonathan, that you're going to think about how to spend this money, regardless of these events, which is something we can think about a little bit more. It should definitely, it'll be allocated next year, regardless of whether or not this group spends it this year, but it doesn't get rolled over. So if it doesn't get spent, it's just a new pot of money for next year.
Okay. Anything else? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn for this evening.
Again,
And moved and seconded. Before I call for a vote on adjourning the meeting, I will say thank you for everyone for attending. This has been the March 8th, 2022 meeting of the Village of New Paltz Environmental Policy Board. Any questions, please use the email, let us know. We look forward to seeing you next month. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.